This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and it is a blustery
There was
Tuesday.
hailing on the way here. And when we were down at the facility earlier.
Yeah,
sideways hail.
Yeah, it's crazy. But we're getting closer and closer.
Almost a week away.
Almost a week away. The Steelers having two more visits today. Running backs, surprisingly enough.
There's been a lot of them.
A lot of running backs in. I think they might take a running back in this draft.
I think they have some interest in the running back position, yes.
Travion Henderson of Ohio State and R.J. Harvey of Central Florida.
Okay.
The visitors today.
I like both.
Yeah.
Harvey is a all-around good player, kind of a pain in the butt to play against, hard to tackle, sort of the Steelers mold that way in terms of
Short but
competitiveness.
stout.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there's a little Warren to his game, too. Also a good zone
But he
runner.
also ran a 4.4 at the combine.
I know. He can scoot,
He can
too.
scoot.
Like, to me, he screams, like him and Neal from Kansas are guys that would often be the third or fourth best back in a class, and they're going to be the eighth best back in a class.
Yeah.
And you're going to get them
Great value.
fifth round, fourth round, where usually they're a third round type guy. Where Henderson, he might sneak in the end of the first round.
might.
I mean, he is a burner. He's really good in protection. He's smallish, but he's stoutly built. One cut and go. Obviously, a really good compliment to Judkins on a national title team. He's going to be pretty desirable. I mean, in a league that's looking for explosives, he's kind of the poster boy right now.
I'm just looking here. According to my little tracker that I've put together, that is 9 running backs
Out of a possible 30 visits.
that the Steelers.
And I know they've used them all, but
almost
right.
a third, and they still got a couple more that they can use. So the running backs that they've had in, we know Amari and Hampton.
Yeah.
He's a first-round type
Yeah,
guy.
and say let's project where these guys would go.
Yeah.
I would say he's going to be top 40 at the latest, maybe top 20.
I think Henderson is around 2 at the latest guy.
I can't believe he gets out of the top 50.
Yeah. You got Dylan Sampson from Tennessee. He's probably a top 3 round
I would think.
guy.
I kind of think that opinions vary on him because it's such a weird offense. Sometimes they run against like 4-man boxes and stuff. It's weird. But he's very explosive.
Yeah. Bashal Tutin from Virginia Tech.
I think he kind of counts in that 5th round, 4th round neighborhood.
Somewhere in that
but
mid-round range.
Supreme tester.
Ollie Gordon from Oklahoma State. He's a little bit later.
He's my
I would
least
think.
favorite of the guys they've got. I think he's kind of a plotter. But what's interesting about him, and maybe why you have him in for a visit, is what happened this year, Ollie? Because a year ago, he'd be second, third round
you
type
were
guy.
considered a first-round guy, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe he's like, well, I had a bad ankle all year, and I just wanted to play through it. I'm a team guy. And you're like, oh, okay, Ollie, that's great,
They had Jaden Blue in earlier this week from Texas.
Pure burner. I don't know where he goes.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. That's
He
the
is
one guy that they've
undersized.
had in that's kind of the scat. Like when people say, pick one of the Dree Archer or whoever, that's who he is.
He's the closest to that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, some of these guys are shorter and thick and like a Warren.
Yeah.
Where he's a satellite back. You
Right.
know what I mean? I think he's probably 6th round. But someone might just love the speed and take him to 4th,
Caleb Johnson from Iowa.
Perfect fit.
I don't think he gets out of the second round.
I don't either. Maybe he's the 5th back taken, but that still could be late second round. And zone teams like the Steelers are going to like what he does. I mean, he's one of those guys, like you watch his highlight tape and you're like, all right.
Yeah.
But you watch 5 games, and you're like, he does the same thing every time.
Yeah,
And
nobody
ends up with 180 yards.
Nobody tackles him. He's running through holes.
Right.
He's-
Professional back.
R.J. Harvey, who we just mentioned, again, just a good all-around back.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I think he's a little older.
I don't care about that at running back.
You're probably going to get one
So was
contract out of him.
so was Najee.
Right.
So is really Jalen Warren was older too.
True.
Because Jalen Warren's the same age as Najee
As
Harris.
Najee, right.
He just came into the league a year later.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it. So is Giddens? Did I say DJ?
I don't
Giddens?
think we mentioned
Yeah,
Giddens.
DJ Giddens from K-State is the other one.
Also, great tester, kind of a slasher. He's a little taller and runs a little higher
He's
than I'd
built
like at
Le'Veon
times.
Bell.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
By the time he was
trimmed
down to
and,
220
right.
pounds. Yeah.
And maybe Giddens even puts on 5 or 10 of muscle too. I have mixed feelings on him, but there are certainly some people in his corner.
Yeah. No, he's fast, and he's got his footwork at the combine was like.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah.
And he can go too.
Yeah. So it's
a good group.
It's a good group, and they've really canvassed a lot of different areas in the draft.
Absolutely.
With these guys.
I mean, Hampton might be gone. I think everyone else will be there at 21. I'm not suggesting they'll take any of those guys at 21, Hampton aside. But some of those dudes aren't going to be around for the third round, that's for sure. They didn't bring Judkins in, though, huh?
They did not, but they were at the Ohio State Pro Day.
True. Okay.
So they may know.
I'm trying to think of the top backs who has not been in. Martinez and Neal, they're not the top guys.
Yeah.
Cadabo, Martinez, Neal are kind of the ones. It's almost like the list of who isn't is greater than who has been.
Yeah.
Or smaller than who has been here.
At quarterback, they've had 4 guys in.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Shuck. That was
he was early, yeah.
He was early. Then you had Jackson Dart, Shador Sanders, and then this week, Kyle McCord from Syracuse.
Okay. They've definitely done a lot of homework on those guys,
They've also been at a lot of the pro days for some of those guys.
And they took Milroe to dinner.
Yeah.
You know, so they've been in close contact with all those dudes.
But not as many of the quarterbacks as the running backs, for sure.
No, of course. I mean, running backs it's like you said, it's a third of their visits.
You might as well we are taking a running back.
Yeah.
Just put it out on the front of the building.
Which isn't even worth hiding in this draft. No, it's not
really
like
isn't.
You could tell the whole planet and still get one.
Yeah.
You know, and be happy about it.
Wide receivers, they've only brought in 4.
Yeah, I don't know what the plan is there.
They brought in both Iowa State guys, Jalen Knoll and Jaden Higgins.
Okay.
Both are second, third round type guys.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to come cheap.
Savion Williams was an early visit.
I wonder if they're just trying to figure out what to do with him.
Maybe.
Maybe he even could be in the running back category, you know, or just
kind of tall for that. But
he's a Cordell Patterson.
He's Cordell Patterson. That's who he is. And then Matthew Golden from Texas.
Mm-hmm. So Higgins and Golden are probably top 40 guys. I mean, Golden for sure. Knoll's a little smaller. I mean, maybe he falls to the third round, but I'd be shocked if he's there for the Steelers' third round pick.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's more trade down or consider moving Pickens is the only way that you really end up with any of those guys.
Yeah. A bunch of defensive linemen.
Yeah.
J.J. Pegues from Ole Miss.
Knows, but an active one, you know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, gets goal line carries and, you know.
Yaha Black from Iowa.
Not as active, but gigundous.
Just a huge human being. Tested really well at the combine.
Mm-hmm.
Derek Harmon.
Yeah, that's first round type dude.
Yeah. Last week it was Jared Harrison Hunt from SMU.
Oh, right.
More of maybe a fifth round type guy.
Yeah, so he'd be later. Yeah. I wonder if they had a medical concern or something.
Maybe.
A question they wanted answered.
Josh Farmer from Florida State.
We're both pretty good fans there. I mean, if he's still there in the third round, you have to strongly consider that.
Elijah Roberts from SMU.
Mm-hmm. He's more of a end turned bump inside, you hope, and traits.
I got a report. Somebody texted me privately and messaged me that Darius Alexander is coming in or has already been in. There's some.
Okay.
So he may be in later
That's
this week.
confirmed.
We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see when that happens. But they know all about the MAC guys.
Yeah.
It is.
But he'd be a good fit too, though. I mean,
Yeah.
he would not. He's a day 2 pick all day long, round 2, probably all day long.
Jamari Caldwell from Oregon,
Okay.
the nose tackle.
Another nose, kind of like Pegues. I mean, he's active. You know, nose tackle body for sure.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8 D linemen.
8 D linemen, 9 running backs.
Wow. It eats up your 30 pretty quick.
Yeah. Edge rusher Shamar Stewart was in last week.
There's 2 of them I think are smokescreens.
That's one.
Him and Enyamari.
Yeah.
Or Enyamari.
They're both potential first-round draft picks, but you're maybe trying to get somebody.
Yeah. Oh, the Steelers brought him in. Maybe they'll take him. Maybe we need to make a move or whatever.
Yeah, Nick Emuari, the safety, and then 3 cornerbacks. Azirier Thomas from Florida State.
Which at this point where he ran, you consider him the third, but I don't think any earlier than that.
Trey Amos from Ole Miss.
That's a higher pick.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a top 40 probably pick.
And then Justin Wally from Minnesota.
It's kind of an odd one to bring in, but he's a mid to late sleeper type. There aren't many sleepers that aren't many people are talking about.
That may be one that the coaching, your defensive back coaches just said, you know what? really like this guy. We didn't get a chance to talk to him at the combine.
Right. He kind of flew under the radar a little bit or whatever, and like, man, he's better than we thought. Let's take a look
at him.
Yeah.
So that's the list. And again, I think if you really start to, they're certainly interested in running back and defensive tackle or defensive lineman, however you want to call it, whatever you want to call that.
I know they brought Wyatt Millham in from WVU.
He was a local visit.
He's a local, but at least he's not a throwaway. He's not the kicker from Pitt. You know what I mean? Like he didn't get drafted reasonably high. But I'm a little shocked there's no O-line conversations. Well, there's conversations, but there's no visits. I guess other than that, though, those are the positions you would think, for sure.
Yeah. I just look at the list and I say, okay, we've done mock drafts after mock draft.
Oh, sure.
You're definitely taking a running back. You're definitely taking
D-line.
Yeah. And it may be 2 picks on the D-line. It could be 2 picks at running back.
Yeah, it could.
If you
wait a little bit, right.
But then you look at the 4 visits at quarterback, the 4 visits at wide receiver, the 3 visits at cornerback, and those are kind of like ancillary needs.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder, what's the logic behind those specific players being the ones you pick? Why Golden and the 2 Iowa State guys as opposed to Burden or whoever that's in the same range? Is it just, man, we really want to spend time with them on the whiteboard? Do we want to, how are you used, or is there something off the field you want to get cleared up, or
did you just not get a chance
really like them?
You ran out of visits at the combine.
Yeah, there's only so much time.
They weren't at the Senior Bowl, and you didn't get to talk to them there, and so you take care of that part of it. Just again, doing your homework on these guys.
Yeah. Golden might be a little bit of a smoke screen too,
like you did with DK. I mean, they didn't draft DK Metcalf, obviously.
Sure,
but a few years later, you're interested in DK Metcalf because you did all your homework on DK Metcalf leading into the draft process that year.
Right.
And then you said, well, now you've got all this information on him as a pro, and you say, well, we liked him as a person.
I mean, it goes without saying
process.
That most of the players you really, really like don't end up on your team.
Correct, yeah.
7 do, at most, basically.
Yeah, and it's really typically not that. And we'll look back in the next segment at the last 3 or 4 years of draft visits.
Okay.
And
I know last year was heavy.
You can kind of figure out where this stuff goes. What's a smoke screen? What's not a smoke screen? And they do I think they like to vary it. I think they like to change it up every once in a while. Just to,
I think
everybody's centering in on what we're going to do here. Now we're going to do this instead.
Yeah, and Uwari and Stewart scream that. You can make the argument that, hey, this guy's a safety, can do it all. We like him. We're excited about him. Or Stewart's an amazing athlete as well. We want to know how well both of them know football, and maybe we could kick him in as a 3-4 end, or he could be your Lee Al.
Muari's your slot.
Yeah, right. I mean, you could certainly make a case for why you'd want the dudes, but deep down, are you really going to take them at where you'd have to, over Walter Nolan or somebody like that, or Harmon or somebody like that? I have my doubts. I also wonder quarterbacks you might be eliminating in a way. Really liked them, didn't love them. I want to love them, and I wonder if there's any smoke screens going on with the quarterbacks too.
Potentially.
You're crazy if you don't do all the homework on those guys.
Right, you have to.
Yeah,
and it's obviously they're not bringing in the top guys at some of these positions. They didn't bring in, Graham didn't come in at defensive tackle.
Right.
You don't think he fits. You didn't bring in.
I'm a little shocked Nolan
Genty.
hasn't been in.
A little bit, but again, it may be a situation where
just because people talk about the off the field and all that.
Yeah, you just couldn't.
Maybe they have no
concerns
whatsoever.
Yeah.
And Grant's another one I thought might be in, but maybe those are the. Part of me thinks Grant, Nolan, and Milroe are guys they really like and didn't bring in on purpose. I don't know.
Potentially, I mean, you just don't know. Right. I mean, unless you give somebody truth serum and get them to own up to it.
Like, I got enough information on these dudes. I'm not going to quite tip my hand and show. You know?
So let's take a look at the history here of the last few years of what they've brought in for their pre-draft visits. We'll do that when we return. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and we're going to go back and look at the Steelers pre-draft visits here over the last few years, and some of these are a little different because some of it was during COVID.
Oh, right.
And you had to do them virtually.
Yeah.
Or you had to.
You still had to report them to the NFL, and you can only do X amount, but they didn't actually visit the building.
And some were pro day visits that you could actually do at that time because some schools had their pro days, others canceled their pro days.
It was a weird time.
It was just a strange time. But going back to 2021, they met with or did a virtual with Micah Parsons.
Okay.
They did a virtual with Jalen Phillips, the edge rusher out of Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Quiddy Pay, the edge rusher out of
Wow, these are all first-round picks, right?
Yeah. Caleb Farley from Virginia Tech.
I can see that. I mean, he had a lot of injury stuff.
Yeah.
And,
Christian Darrisaw, the offensive tackle from Virginia Tech.
Okay. Well, these are all good players.
Travis Etienne, the running back from Clemson.
Makes sense. They ended up taking Najee that year.
Eric Stokes, the cornerback from Georgia.
First-round picks.
Odafe Owe from Penn State, the edge rusher.
Boy, these are all first-round picks.
Tyson Campbell, the cornerback from Georgia.
First-round pick. All right.
Elijah Moore, the wide receiver from Ole Miss.
Okay. I think he's still out there.
Somebody signed him, I thought.
I'm not sure. I wasn't 100% sure on that. I almost didn't say it. But
Liam Eichenberg, the offensive tackle from Notre Dame.
He was a second that was kind of busted.
Trayvon Moehrig, safety from TCU.
Not a huge theme here, except for high picks.
Yeah. Asante Samuel Jr., the cornerback from Florida State.
He might still be out there.
I thought he signed somewhere.
I'm not sure.
Maybe. I don't know. Azeez Ojulari, edge rusher from Georgia.
Again, early second.
Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame.
End up playing against him.
Yeah. Pat Freiermuth from Penn State.
Yeah, we know about
there
him.
There you go. Nick Bolton, linebacker from Missouri.
Yeah.
Second-round pick.
They're interested in some really good players.
Jalen Mayfield, offensive tackle from Michigan.
He was a later one.
Yeah. And then Baron Browning, the linebacker from Ohio State. They were also at the Alabama Pro Day and met with Alex Leatherwood. I think they took these guys to dinner. Najee Harris, Landon Dickerson.
Okay. And obviously they took Najee and Freiermuth.
Yeah, so you got two of those guys. But as you mentioned,
they aimed high.
This was.
You're not going to get a fifth rounder out of that group.
I think because of the way that year worked out with the virtual stuff, everything was virtual. You didn't want to waste your time because you weren't going to have as many pro days.
Yeah.
And so, hey, we're just going to take what we know we can get here in this first two rounds, and then after that, we'll just kind of
maybe that's kind of just a weird grouping in general. It's a weird year, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But those were all high picks.
The following year, remember, this was a heavy quarterback year. They met with they brought in Kyle Hamilton, safety out of Notre Dame. Kenny Pickett, quarterback from Pitt.
Local though.
Yeah. Quay Walker from Georgia. They went to dinner with him at his pro day. Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati, the quarterback.
Okay. Yeah, you're doing quarterback research.
Marcus Jones, cornerback from Houston.
Okay. There's some off the field you probably want to clear up there.
Malik Willis, Matt Corral, Sam Howell.
Yeah, they're all the top quarterbacks, right?
Eric Johnson, defensive lineman from Missouri State.
I don't know what his story is. I don't remember where he even got drafted.
Kyron Johnson, edge rusher out of Kansas.
Yeah, there were some later guys then.
Mark Robinson, linebacker from Ole Miss.
Interesting.
Chris Olodokun, quarterback from South Dakota State.
Okay.
Carson Strong, quarterback from Nevada.
Yeah, I forgot about him. He was a big, strong-arm pocket passer type.
They brought in Joey Blunt, a safety from Virginia. He went undrafted. James Skalski, linebacker from Clemson, undrafted.
Some of these are late.
And Nolan Turner, safety from Clemson.
Wow, there's 5 or 6 names there. I don't know who they are.
Yeah. 2023. This one really hits, like guys they brought in,
Ended up being,
Yeah. So, Christian Gonzalez, cornerback out of Oregon.
I got to admit, whenever the card was in for the trade up, and when they end up with Broderick Jones, I was like, is it Jones or Gonzalez? I really was 50-50 right down the middle on that.
But they also brought in Darnell Wright, the offensive tackle from Tennessee.
Okay. That adds up. He was off the board by then.
Yeah. They took Broderick Jones to dinner at his pro day.
Okay.
Deontay Banks, cornerback from Maryland.
The first-round corner like Gonzalez.
Anton Harrison, offensive tackle from Oklahoma.
First-round tackles and corners,
Yeah. Brian Brisset, defensive lineman from Clemson.
We took him 2 or 3 times in a mock, yeah.
Yeah. Felix Nduke Uzoma, edge rusher out of K-State.
Late first.
Joey Porter Jr., that's a local visit. But still.
But still, two of your first
guys.
few picks, right?
Steve Avila, the guard from TCU.
Okay. Good players.
Johnny Mingo, wide receiver from Ole Miss.
Okay.
He walked into Pittsburgh.
Okay.
Julius Brents, cornerback from K-State.
Did I understand that? He's kind of a Porter body type.
Keon White, defensive lineman from Georgia Tech.
He's been quite good.
Cody Mach, offensive lineman from North Dakota State.
Okay.
Keanu Benton, defensive lineman from Wisconsin. So,
I mean, their top 3
their
picks.
first 3 picks were all guys that they brought in.
And most of those dudes were brand name guys. They weren't 7th rounders and undrafted.
Yeah.
Right.
Jaden Reed, the wide receiver from Michigan State. Tuli Tuipulotu, edge rusher from USC. Tyreek Stevenson, cornerback from Miami.
A lot of second-round type guys there.
John Michael Schmitz, center from Minnesota. Osiris Torrance, guard from Florida.
Boy, a lot of second-rounders.
Cedric Tillman, wide receiver, Tennessee.
I'm still a fan of his.
Darnell Washington, tight end from Georgia.
Wow.
I remember we walked by him.
I remember walking by him like, he was hard to miss.
Yeah. Sika Ika, defensive lineman from Baylor.
Big nose, ended up going to the Browns.
Chandler Zavala, guard from NC State.
Okay.
Charlie Jones, wide receiver from Purdue.
Yeah, I remember his mid-round pick.
Darius Rush, cornerback, South Carolina.
Okay, didn't draft him, but wasn't
you ended up with him.
After. Yeah, you can give me to him for free, we'll take you.
Clayton
He's
Toon.
not with the team. I don't know where he is now.
Yeah, he they released him last year to try to.
Yeah, I remember that.
And somebody else signed him again.
Yeah.
Clayton Toon, quarterback, Houston.
Late pick.
Daniel Scott, safety out of Cal. Jaron Hall, quarterback from BYU. Or Jaron Hall, I guess.
Jaron Hall, yeah.
Carl Brooks, a defensive lineman from Bowling Green.
Yeah, we liked him.
Yeah. Tanner Engel, safety out of NC State. Bryce Ford Wheaton, wide receiver from West Virginia. They ended up, I believe, signing him as a UDFA.
He may have been a local.
Yeah, he was. West Virginia's local. And then they also had dinner with Robert Beal, edge rusher out of Georgia.
But they ended up with several.
Yeah. Last year.
This one's crazy.
Talisi Fuaga.
He was off the board when they picked.
Offensive tackle from Oregon State. He was gone.
Who knows who they were taking if they both were available?
Troy Fautanu.
Right. First-round pick.
Cooper DeJean, cornerback out of Iowa.
I'm sure they liked them a lot.
Yeah.
You can't have everything.
Nate Wiggins, cornerback from Clemson.
Okay. And playing against him twice a year.
Amarius Mims, offensive tackle from Georgia.
He's close by.
A.D. Mitchell, wide receiver from Texas.
I'll be honest. When they were on the clock in the second round, they took Frazier. Frazier would have been my pick at that minute, but if not, it would have been Mitchell.
Graham Barton, offensive lineman from Duke.
Rumor has it they were very high on him. Now, obviously, they preferred Fautanu, but they were really high on Barton. Jackson
Powers Johnson, center from Oregon.
Okay, there were 3 centers that looked like starters, and more turned into starters, but they hit them all, huh?
Tyler Guyton, offensive tackle from Oklahoma.
I think they were going to rebuild the O-line.
Yeah, you see a trend there. Darius Robinson, defensive lineman from Missouri.
First-round pick.
Braden Fisk, defensive tackle from Florida State.
Had a great year.
Peyton Wilson, linebacker, NC State.
Another.
Ricky Pearsall, wide receiver, Florida.
Went pretty high, first round.
Yeah. Zach Frazier, center from West Virginia. So there's 3 guys.
The first 3 picks, right?
Yeah, 3 guys that they brought in.
Was Roman ahead of Peyton Wilson? I can't remember.
I believe it was Peyton Wilson and Roman.
I can't remember what order they got picked. Right,
the 2 Wilsons. Xavier Leggett, wide receiver, South
Carolina.
Carolina.
Definitely in the receiver market.
Max Melton, cornerback from Rutgers.
We liked him a lot, too. I still do.
Malachi Corley, wide receiver, Western Kentucky.
There's some trends there.
Mason Smith, defensive lineman, Michigan.
End up going to Jackson,
yeah.
Jacksonville.
Blake Fisher, offensive tackle, Notre Dame.
If you would have got shut out in round 1, he'd have been a nice
fallback.
Yeah.
Andrew Phillips, cornerback, Kentucky.
Had a good year.
Yep. Mason McCormick, offensive lineman, South Dakota State.
It's a pretty high percentage.
Yeah. Matt Gonclaves from Pitt, that was a local visit.
Yeah, but looks like he's going to become a starter now for the Colts.
Luke McCaffrey, wide receiver from Rice. Christian Boyd, defensive tackle from Northern Iowa.
Mm-hmm. I liked him a lot. I'm not sure what really happened.
Yeah, I don't know. Hunter Norzad, center from Penn State. That was a local visit. Taj Washington, wide receiver, USC.
Mm-hmm.
MJ Devonshire from Pitt. That was cornerback. That's a local visit. Jalen Crometti, I should say, defensive lineman from Mississippi State.
I don't remember him.
Logan Lee.
Yeah, about that.
Defensive lineman from Iowa. Travis Glover, offensive tackle from Georgia State. Daquan Hardy, that's a local visit from Penn State, cornerback. Beanie Bishop.
Yeah. It's a freebie.
Cornerback from West Virginia. It's a freebie. They ended up signing him. And Stephen Jones, offensive lineman from Oregon.
They've taken a couple different approaches.
Yeah.
In terms of how
some
they
years it's
structure
heavy. Some years not so much. And
some years a lot of top 50 type guys, so you're not going to have 5 of them that, you draft, of course. And then this one was pretty spread out and ended up with a high percentage of them.
Yeah, and in 2023, knowing that you had the 3 picks in the top 52 or whatever it was, it makes sense to hammer those early guys.
And still end up with them.
Yeah.
And they did. I mean, it was the top 3 were all in.
Yeah, and then if you look at what they've done this year,
I'm not sure how that'll add up the same. I don't know if you can get to the same percentage. You definitely could get it back.
It leads me. Just looking at, you got some first-round guys in there, but then you've got a bunch of second/third-round guys in there. It makes me believe they really want to trade back or
I was thinking that
acquire something in the second round or in that early third round.
It makes me,
because there's a lot of these visits because they've known for quite a while now.
Yeah.
That they don't have that second-round pick.
And maybe they don't agree with us, but if they do and think D tackle's probably our first pick, but if we trade back pretty heavy and don't, and there's Hampton or Golden or Emumare or Stewart or somebody like that, would we be comfortable doing it? And now they have a better answer, yes or no.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just, again, building that 21 those guys are gone. Because the first-round edge rushers, no.
Right. They're not going to take one of those.
Yeah, they're not
taking
tight
those. End.
You mentioned no offensive linemen.
No offensive linemen, right.
Okay, so they're not doing that. None of the tight ends.
Thought maybe they'd be interested in Simmons just to see, condition he's in or whatever, Right.
Yeah. So you can almost scratch those 3 off the board if you're building your 21, and we'll do that again toward the end of the week or maybe early next week.
And I was thinking corner, would Amos be in the 21? Maybe if you stretched it.
But you'd have to stretch it.
You'd have to stretch it for at least the way we see him. I can't imagine them taking him at 21. Would they take him at 30 if they had a wealth of other picks? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. That's what you're looking to build out there. Mm-hmm. Some of these other, we included Darius Alexander in our 21.
Yeah.
Like if you traded back, then that
would. And we were real heavy on D tackles in our 21. But you might get him at 48.
Yeah. So when we rebuild our 21. The question I need to ask then, do we even put any offensive linemen or the tight ends or any of those positions on that?
I know. Probably yes, but there's also there's only 30 visits, so you're going to bring in Membo and Campbell and Warren when they're not going to be there.
Right.
And, you'd take them, but you're never going to have that contemplation.
But this draft is so different.
It's weird.
It's a weird one just because of the lack of really high-end talent.
Another exercise we could do is just pick 3 or 4 positions and build a top 20 board out of that or whatever. If you just eliminate all the edge, all the tight end, all the O-line, and say, who would you be comfortable taking in the top 50? Something like that. Which, if Warren's happened to be sitting there at 21, okay, we'll take him, but he won't be,
Right. Yeah, I'm just thinking back, like if you're looking at the big boards from last year, for example, would Caleb Williams still be the number 1 overall pick? Yes.
What do you mean? Knowing what we know now?
Not knowing what we know now. At the time, Caleb Williams is considered a better prospect, I think, than anybody that's in this draft.
Yeah.
As a quarterback,
I would think so. Consensus.
Yeah.
Maybe some people like other. Yeah, I agree.
I'm looking at Pro Football Focus's rankings from last year, a year ago. they had Marvin Harrison Jr. number 2. Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Travis Hunter is
That's a conversation. Hunter's so weird.
Yeah, because he's also the cornerback. Yeah. But Harrison,
he's much better than McMillan.
Harrison would be up here compared to these other receivers in this draft.
I mean, looking at last year's class, there's so many that would eliminate the guys in our 21.
Yeah,
I mean, there's a ton of them. If we build it, I know this isn't what we're doing, but if you build a board with last year's draftable players and this year's draftable players, and you get 21 of them, not many would be from this year.
That's why I'm going through this little thing.
I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. Knowing what we know now, I don't want to talk about their rookie year. Right?
Right. They had Drake May at 3.
Well, I love Drake.
He's a better prospect than any of the quarterbacks in this
I 100% agree. Yeah.
Malik Neighbors.
He's just way better than any of the. Let's just take Hunter out of the equation. Let's not even talk about him anymore. But Neighbors is way better than all the receivers.
Joe Alt would be easily the number 1.
He's a real tackle,
offensive tackle.
Right, easily.
Rome Odunze, still better than any of the
number 1 receiver.
Yeah. Brock Bowers versus
clearly
these
tight end 1, but those other ones are good. It's a
yeah.
conversation, but he would still go first of the group. He was a pretty rare college player.
They had Cooper DeJean number 8 on their list, by the way.
Good for them.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember really thinking there was a lot of ambiguity with the corners.
They also had Quinion Mitchell number 9.
Okay, yeah.
So you got 8 and 9 right next to each other, and the Eagles.
But we'd take both those guys over Will Johnson.
Yeah.
What we thought of them then. Not that they even had great years.
Or even Jody, like Cooper DeJean versus Jody Barron, because
I would prefer DeJean.
Yeah, I would too. He's bigger. Yeah. This is where Leatu Leatu, they had at 10. There's some edge rushers in this draft I like
the edge is better this year.
Yeah.
I mean, the edge is better this year. But that doesn't really affect the Steelers, but the edge is definitely better this year.
They have Jerzon Newton at number 11 at defensive tackle.
Okay, that's a little bit odd. I mean, he also had a foot issue.
Yeah. And Byron Murphy right after.
I would say Murphy. I was trying to think who the other one was.
So Newton and Murphy.
For the Steelers, I would rather have Harmon, Grant, Nolan.
Yeah.
I think those guys are kind of more like
like Graham.
More like Graham. Yeah, they're a little shorter and upfield guys.
Talisi Fuaga.
Right. I mean, I'm taking Fuaga over Membo and Campbell.
All of them. He'd be the number 1 tackle in this draft.
I agree.
Terrion Arnold, they had at 14 the cornerback out of Alabama.
I didn't love him at the time. I mean,
now we're getting into a conversation.
Yeah. Agreed.
I might rather have Will Johnson.
Maybe, yeah.
Troy Fautanu.
He's right there with Fuaga.
He would be the best offensive tackle in this draft.
Yeah.
Dallas Turner, the edge rusher out of Alabama. We already talked about the edge rushers.
They lose.
Olu Fashanu, the tackle out of Penn State.
He still is too. I mean, a little bit smaller hands, but I mean, he still was a tackle all day long.
J.C. Latham out of Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, he was my number 2 tackle.
Yeah. Mims is at 20. Now you're probably maybe getting it because he'd only started 15 games
there was
in college.
Concerns and questions, but he's a tackle all day long.
Yeah.
I mean, size-wise.
They had Jaden Daniels all the way down at 21.
Okay. But we would have taken that version. A year ago, Daniels would have taken over Ward.
There were a lot right up until the end. I had Jaden Daniels ahead of Caleb Williams. He was my number
May was the one I had right against Williams too.
Yeah. Adonai Mitchell.
We were fans.
Yeah.
And I think a year ago, if you rewind and found a drive, you'd say we'd take that Mitchell version over Will Johnson probably.
Graham Barton. Now he got moved to center. But he's better than any center prospect in this draft.
I mean, the interior line conversation.
It's ridiculous.
Without even narrowing it down to center, Powers, Johnson, Frazier, Barton, they're going over all the centers.
Yeah.
Times 1,000.
Brian Thomas Jr.
I think he would be ahead of Tet McMillan, too.
I think so. He's faster.
I mean, I remember.
He's the same size and has the same ability to adjust the foot, but he's faster.
Yeah, he's big.
Yeah.
And that's just not because he had a great rookie year, because I remember being on the air, just like the Frazier conversation, that when the Steelers run the clock in the first round, I'm like, oh, Fautanu, great.
Fautanu, but Brian Thomas is there.
I remember people saying, well, who would be your second choice? I'm like, Brian Thomas.
Or Quinion Mitchell.
Yeah, he was actually third.
Yeah.
I'm like,
they actually had 3 really, if they'd have gone any of those directions, I'd been like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
You
I said in the second round, it was, well, if it's not Frazier, Matt, who you like? I'm like, I like Donnie Mitchell. Right.
Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. He was a little thinner.
But he'd go earlier in this draft than he did that draft.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have lasted to 28 or 29.
Yeah.
Man corner that can run length.
J.J. McCarthy, to me, I would
take Ward over.
I would take Ward over McCarthy.
That's where I slotted Ward, is after the big three.
Yeah. They had Peyton Wilson at number 30.
Oh, good for them.
Good for them and good for the Steelers. Tyler Nubin, the safety, I don't think he's as good a prospect as the top two safeties in this draft. Just looking through here, some of this. Knicks, Penix were 35 and 36 in that list.
And I would take Ward over both those guys.
But that's where we're at here. We're down into the 40s, and they had Roman Wilson at 42, by the way. Too.
Did they?
You just
they were high in the Steelers.
You don't have the spending power in this draft that you had in previous draft, last year's draft for sure.
I mean, we knew last year's draft was rich, obviously with tackles, receivers, and quarterbacks, all which would have interested Steelers and made sense. But I don't think we even at the time, how would we? We didn't have a crystal ball. That our top 20 at the time, they picked 20 last year, right?
Yeah.
Was awesome. you know what I mean? Like we had 20. It was like this year was like, man, how do we get to 21? Should we bring in Alexander or another lineman? Where last year we're cutting like Bo Nix.
I mean, Cooper DeJean was on our top 20 list last year.
Yeah. Like I'm not even sure if like Arnold made it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he easily would have this year.
Well, yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
Let alone the Brian Thomas and the Dunzeys and right.
It's just not.
We probably had McConkey in our top 20. We loved him too.
Yeah,
I'm sure he did. So we were right.
It's just a different draft and a different. Again, I just don't think you're not getting the bang for your buck this year in the top 10.
No, I'm not sure if I'd include number 4 in this, but definitely 5 through 12 is watered down.
Yeah,
those guys are usually the 20th pick. Yeah. It seems like we're always picking on Mason Graham, but I don't know if he goes in the top 10 this year. I don't think Campbell goes in the top 10. Membo might. He's so athletic, and at least he's definitely a tackle for now, but he's not the prototype. He's not 6'6".
Yeah.
Would Warren? Probably not. Not with Bowers.
Not in that draft.
How many guys this year would be top 10 picks last year?
Well, that's kind of what we went through.
I know.
Not many.
Not many at all, right. It's
maybe none.
Right?
Hunter might be it.
And
the couple of the edge rushers.
Yeah, and Ward might be the 4th quarterback or 5th.
But last year's edge rusher group it wasn't good.
Carter's better than all those.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd gone high just because of premium position, right.
So
that's crazy.
Yeah. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And news came out this morning that the Miami Dolphins and Jalen Ramsey have agreed to let him seek a trade.
They're a team in flux. Tyreek Hill name keeps coming up and keeps coming up.
They're saying they're not considering trading him, but they can't consider trading him right now because he just got in trouble last week.
Yeah, right. I'm saying
you would be selling for pennies on the dollars at this point.
I know.
And he's coming off a not as great year.
Not as great a year. Is he a declining player? Is he starting to slow down? Armstead retires. These are their core guys.
Yeah.
Those are the guys they went and traded for. They gave a lot of money when they pushed their chips in. And it could be dark times. You're paying your quarterback.
Hard times.
You're not going to tank.
Yeah.
And maybe it's time to cash out and get draft picks for those dudes. And your cap's not in great shape, and they need both lines of scrimmage. And every mock draft we talk about, it's like, well, Dolphins could go a lot of directions here. And I don't think Tua's an elevator.
Yeah.
I think they're in a tough situation.
They're in a tough situation.
Who are your building blocks right now?
Yeah, you're gonna move on from and Ramsey's 30.
I say he's been around.
And he's making. If you start looking at the cornerback market numbers.
Yeah. So real quick on him.
Yeah.
From what I forget who I was listening to or reading or whatever, they kind of implied that he's not necessarily unhappy with the Dolphins, but he wants to get back to being an outside man-to-man corner. And it's such a weird conversation, and it's a deep conversation about the value of slot and DeJean and Branch, because really his Rams time and his Dolphins time, Ramsey's played near the line of scrimmage as a big nickel star, whatever you want to call it, but it beats up your body. And I think he wants to be outside playing man coverage against Jamar Chase. But now he's 30. Is he going to be as good at that? And I never thought he was Revis to begin with, but he was great at one point. It's kind of just an odd career, and does he see the writing on the wall too that this team's going the wrong direction?
That might be it.
Yeah.
It might be he's seeing some of these younger players surpassing his contract value. If you start looking at
maybe it's financial, and Miami can't give him more money. They're really tight against it.
It may not even be necessary. Like his contract is like fully guaranteed.
I was gonna say, I think that you're taking on a pretty decent contract if you trade for him.
His 3-year APY average per year is $24.1 million. Well, that's been surpassed by Derek Stingley at $30 million.
Yeah.
J.C. Horn's making $25, and then he's third. Patrick Surtain is right after him at 24, and then Jair Alexander at 21.8.
Who also could be on the move.
The problem is that position is so up and down from year to year. It's more volatile maybe than any other position in the league.
And this worries me a little about Slay, but over 30 corners don't have a great history. They don't last till they're 38 unless you're Darryl Green. There's very few.
And it depends on what you're asking them to do.
100%.
Are you asking them to be the number one guy that they were, when they were 28?
Right.
Or are you asking them to be a complementary piece?
So I'm not suggesting the Steelers should trade for Jalen Ramsey. I mean, I think they've made their big corner moves, and they're probably pretty settled there. Maybe they'll throw a 4th-round pick at the equation. But it's a great example about what we've talked about all along. If right now this was a defensive tackle or a position that you needed.
You didn't expect this guy to be available, and now he is.
And you're one of the few teams that could easily pull this trade off. I mean, financially, you could send a future pick. I mean, I know you're a little light on picks, but you could add this guy if you wanted. Not every team could, and the fully guaranteed money. And whoever does trade for him, assuming he gets traded, it's not going to be for a 1st-round pick like he's been traded for in the past because it's big money and an aging corner.
Yeah, and that's the position. I mean, we had the discussion about T.J. Watt yesterday.
Yeah.
Cornerback's different than outside linebacker.
100%.
Or edge rusher, or whatever you want to consider it.
Yeah.
I mean, the same people who were saying last year you don't pay Cam Hayward. But that's the other part. Like, everybody assumed Cam Hayward was asking for the moon last year. Well, that may not be the case.
With Watt either.
Nobody knows.
Right.
Nobody knows.
Right.
But in this situation, the Dolphins might just be looking at this going, hey,
I think
our left tackle just retired.
That's
last
what
week.
I say, right. It might be rebuild time.
We're not going to compete this year. Can we get something for Jalen Ramsey at this point that
And I think Tyreek's in the exact same situation.
But they can't trade Tyreek right now because of the off-the-field situation.
Which you knew when you got him, and the Chiefs knew
that he was a volatile guy.
Yeah. That's a nice way of putting it. I mean, he was not on many draft boards. And he's not been an angel since he's been in the league, but he hasn't been, criminal, to that regard. But what are those two going to be worth a year from now? Or even at the trade deadline? Less than now.
Yeah.
I mean, unless they're having great years. Maybe Tyreek looks phenomenal on tape before you know it and looks like the same guy. Maybe.
And cornerbacks just don't affect the game like edge rushers. They just don't.
No, right. I'd rather invest in
D-line. I can just avoid the cornerback. I don't have to throw over there.
And I don't think it's Ramsey Island at this point.
It is not.
I think he's a really good football player. Frankly, if they added him to Steelers secondary, I'd be like, wow. I mean, you're loaded now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and same with any team, really. But I'm not giving a 1st-round pick for him.
Yeah, he's not the difference maker he was 4 years ago.
No. Rams gave up a 1st. I think the Dolphins gave up a 1st or something similar. He's a depreciating asset.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you go all in with the Dolphins approach.
Yeah. So, anyways, I just thought that was interesting.
I did too.
Let's get to a break. That's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. And welcome back to the drive. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and it is mock draft time. We're using the ProFootballNetwork.com mock drafter, and our pick is up. And, we have 2 trade offers.
Okay.
One from the Lions.
Yeah.
28
not too bad. Yeah.
28 and 60 for 21 and 156.
Okay. Understandable.
The Dolphins are on the phone. They want to give us 48, 98, next year's 2, next year's 3 for 21, and next year's a 7th-round pick next year.
You want to do something crazy and do something like that?
No, I don't, because that would never happen in reality.
Man,
they're
not
second
and third next year.
I understand. And
they're going to stink, I think, too.
But we also have to do a mock draft today.
I know, but we did one yesterday, and we're going to do one tomorrow.
I understand that, but there's no way on God's green earth I see them trading all the way back to pick 48.
I don't either. I just wonder what the build would look like.
Like if it were something in the high 30s, I would consider it.
Yeah.
Because I think they might consider that if you're going to throw in a future 2.
I mean, I would think your first round pick at that point is like your first pick is Alexander or Tyleik Williams or. Maybe, probably worse.
Yeah.
I mean, so I get it, but
48's way too far back to go.
All right.
I just
want to do one of them that way to see what it ends up with.
I don't disagree. And if it were pick 38, I would consider it. 48, they're not moving back to 48.
It's pretty crazy.
So I'm going to reject that one.
Okay.
The Lions at 28 and 60. I could see that happening.
I think that neighborhood's fine.
And you're giving up, it's a 1 and a 5 for a 1 and a 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's realistic.
I don't think that's bad.
No.
I think you could maybe even squeeze more out of them.
I'm going to just go back and look at what's available here.
Okay.
Derek Harmon is there.
Good.
Malachi Starks, safety from Georgia. Tyler Booker, the guard from Alabama. Jihad Campbell, linebacker from Alabama. Josh Simmons, offensive tackle from Ohio State. Walter Nolan, defensive tackle from Ole Miss. Gray Zabel, offensive lineman from North Dakota State. Nick Scourton, edge rusher from Texas A&M. Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver, Ohio State. James Pierce, the edge rusher out of Tennessee. Jackson Dart, quarterback from Ole Miss. Omarion Hampton, running back from North Carolina. Tyleik Williams is still there. Kenneth Grant is still there. You have to move back.
Yeah, I think you take it then, yeah.
Yeah, you have
There's enough options that you could be quite happy with where you go back.
Yeah. Okay.
Pick up a late second, that's lovely.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Well, we got 3 trade offers now. Okay, this goes to what you were talking about here. The Giants are offering 34 and 65 for 28 and 123.
I'm interested. I'd like to know what's still available. What happened at the tackle group?
The Texans are offering 31 and 89 for 28 and 185. They must have traded back as well.
I was going to say, how'd they end up there? But okay. We could have a trade fest today. Something different. Yeah, throw a curveball.
Jihad Campbell, Josh Simmons, Gray Zabel, Egbuka, Jackson Dart, who I assume that's what the Giants want to come up and get.
I would think, yeah.
Omarion Hampton, Tyleik Williams, Jalen Milroe, Siobhan Ravel, Donovan Ezereku, Kenneth Grant.
Nolan and Harmon are gone.
Nolan just went.
I'd have a hard time trading away from Grant in this instance, but I do like Williams.
Well, the question you would then have to ask yourself, is Grant going to go to Washington?
Doubtful. They took a D-tackle early last year.
Is Grant going to go to Buffalo? Maybe. Would Houston be coming up to get Grant? Or are they coming up for one of the wide receivers?
I would think like Zabel or Egbuka or one of those that you mentioned. What are they offering us again? I would swallow it with Tyreek Hill.
The Giants are offering 34 and 65 for 28 and 123.
And do it for fun and roll the dice.
The Texans are offering 31 and 89 for 28 and 185.
I'd be more comfortable going to 31.
34 and 65 versus 31 and 89. But we're giving up, to get 34 and 65, we're also giving up pick 123.
Mm-hmm. I'll try either. If we end up with Williams, I won't cry. I'm a big Tyleik Williams fan.
Let's take the Giants, because the Giants offer gives us, 34 and 65.
65 is going to be real handy.
Real handy, but we're giving up 123, so we're moving out of that 4th round.
Let's do it.
Okay. I'll accept it then. And, we're picking now.
Yeah.
We traded back twice. We do have other trade offers, but we're going to reject. Okay, so the picks then went. They moved up for Jackson Dart, which is what we guessed.
Totally adds up.
Jihad Campbell goes to Washington.
That's late for him.
Siobhan Ravel goes to Buffalo.
Okay, so we avoided the Grant speed bump there.
Josh Simmons goes to the Texans.
I think he's going to go high.
That's who they were trying to trade back up to get.
I don't blame him.
Egbuka goes to the Patriots, who traded into 32.
Good for them.
Yeah. Jalen Milroe to the Browns.
I was about
33.
to bring up, with all these picks we have, I was thinking about lobbying for Milroe even over Grant.
Okay.
But I guess we're not going to have that conversation.
We're up now at 34. Grant is still available.
Grab him, yeah.
You take him.
You grab him. I thought we were going to end up with Tyleek Williams, so great.
We got all these extra picks now. All right, we're up now at 60. I'm going to reject all the offers here. Wyatt Millum.
Real quick, would you consider Shuck here?
I would think about it.
Yeah, I mean, we got extra stuff.
stuff.
Right.
Yeah, we got.
He's the only quarterback I'd consider.
We got picks 60, 65, 83, but then we don't have anything until 185.
Okay. So I'd like to get a premium running back.
Okay, so we'll take a look at the running backs here. We can Quinshon Judkins.
Hard to say no to that.
DJ Giddens, Cam Scatabo, Bashal Tootin, Damian Martinez, Ollie Gordon, Dylan Sampson, R.J. Harvey, Devin Neal.
Judkins is way better than all those guys.
Yeah, you think you just draft Judkins?
He might make it a 65. We're at 60, but I think we will take him at 60.
I think you take the bird in hand. And
I think so, too. Yeah. But who are the best available?
Wyatt Millum, offensive guard from West Virginia. JT Tuimoloau, edge rusher from Ohio State. Judkins is 3 on that list. Maxwell Hairston, cornerback out of Kentucky. Prince Yu, edge rusher out of Ole Miss. Tate Ratledge, the guard from Georgia.
So there's no one crazy there. You take Judkins and you're thrilled.
Well, I mean, Jaden Higgins is there. Darius Alexander is there.
We could consider them in 5 picks.
We might get them in 5 picks, and we just take Judkins now.
I agree.
Okay, Judkins it is.
There was a clear line. I like those other backs, but he's a starter.
Yeah. Okay.
So now I would consider Shuck. I'd consider Higgins. I'd consider a tackle that shouldn't be there. I'd consider Alexander. Might even consider Hairston if he's still there. He's not really for me, but if you get him at 65.
Yeah. Well, he's gone. So
okay. I didn't really want to take him. He's too small for my liking, but he shouldn't still be there.
Well, actually, he is still there. Never mind. So it's Millum, Tuimoloau, Hairston, Tate Ratledge, T.J. Sanders, Darius Alexander, Emory Jones, the offensive tackle from LSU, Alfred Collins, defensive tackle from Texas.
I think I'd take Alexander over Collins with Grant in hand.
Yeah.
But, boy, that's some beef.
Yeah. You'd really...
Man. Send a message to the rest of the division.
Alec Eamonor. I keep calling him Eric.
I'm a big fan of his, too. I guess Higgins must have went.
Shuck is there.
It might be the time to do it.
First pick of round 3?
Shuck or Alexander?
I think you go quarterback.
I think you do, too. He might be the answer.
He might be the answer. He
right.
might not, but he might be.
And at that price, if he's a 2, and I know
he's worth it.
It's very worth it.
Yeah.
Right.
Tyler Shuck it is. We haven't taken Tyler Shuck in a long time.
So I forget what podcast I was listening to. It might have been McShay's. And he was saying the concern around the league that he's hearing with Shuck isn't his age, but how am I going to get him reps at his age? You know what I mean? Like once you get him in the building, and the Steelers have that issue too. If it's Rodgers, Rudolph, Shuck, sure, he'd play like the whole preseason. But then he's probably not active on game day all year, and he's out of sight, out of mind, it's kind of
honestly,
weird.
It's no different. It is different from taking one of the injured guys,
a
Hendon Hooker or someone like that.
Right.
That we've seen teams take.
At least you could play him the preseason and give him a ton of practice snaps.
But those injured guys, you're getting nothing out of that first year, and so you're eating a year.
And certainly, if Rudolph or Rodgers had any injury, he's active on game day. But you'd love him to be the 2 right away.
Okay,
but I love the pick for there.
We're up at 83.
Okay, we got
quarterback, running back,
D-line,
defensive lineman. Jack Beck.
Ooh.
Barrett Carter, the linebacker from Clemson. Chris Paul, the linebacker from Ole Miss. Omar Norman-Lott, defensive tackle from Tennessee. Shamar Turner, defensive tackle from Texas A&M.
I'm a Turner fan, by the way.
Ashton Gillette, the edge rusher out of Louisville. Cameron Williams, offensive tackle from Texas. Gunnar Helm, tight end from Texas. DJ Giddens, running back from K-State. Elijah Arrojo, the tight end from Miami. Cam Scatabo, running back from Arizona State. Is there a position you want to hit here?
There's two names you said that I'm pretty excited about. And this is a much different build and different names, too, than we usually take.
Well, that's the thing when you start moving around.
Yeah. Betch or Beck. I always forget which one it is.
Beck.
I think it is Beck.
Yeah.
He's a lot different than what they have. And Turner. I mean, you took a nose type. Turner's an end. He plays hard. Who is either one of those?
Well, I'm looking here. Josh Farmer's still there.
Say Turner or Farmer if you had Grant.
I
probably have a higher grade on Farmer, but close.
It's close.
Real close.
Yeah. Just looking here, what offense with wide receivers available. You have Beck, Tez Johnson. No. Torrey Horton from Colorado State.
I liked Horton.
Xavier Estrepo from Miami. Savion Williams from TCU. He has fallen weight.
really
Everybody
has.
finally started watching the tape and going, why didn't he have any production?
Yeah.
He's big, strong, and fast, but he didn't do anything.
It's funny. Pro Football Focus put something out today. They had two articles. Who in their mock draft simulator has moved up the most in the last month and who's been on the fall? And he was like top of the list of the fallers.
People talking about him as a early second-round pick when this whole thing started.
I don't know what you do with him.
Yeah, I don't see it.
I'd much rather have Beck.
Isaac Tesla still out there. At guard, you're looking at Dylan Fairchild from Georgia, Miles Frazier from LSU, Jackson Slater from South State.
I think Frazier's a really good player, too.
Yeah. So there's some dudes there. Tackle, you're looking at Cameron Williams, Charles Grant from William and Mary.
I'm certainly a Grant fan.
Yeah,
I'm not the Texas dude.
Yeah. Logan Brown from Kansas, Chase Lunt, Anthony Belton.
I would consider Grant. I'd consider either guard. I would certainly consider Turner, or who was the other D lineman we were just talking about? There was someone else that was of
Farmer.
Yeah. And Beck.
Here's the thing with trading the picks.
What do we have left, though?
We don't get another pick for 100 picks.
So it's basically your last
premium
contributor.
Yeah. The guy that is either a starter for you this year or next year.
You're probably not getting your guard replacement.
Probably taking a quarterback.
Oh, no doubt. No, that's the price
you're
you pay
going
for
to
the
miss
quarterback.
on something else.
Right.
Which is why we had to make the trade to get extra picks early.
I mean, if we didn't take Shuck, there would have been a really good receiver there, and we wouldn't even consider Beck.
To me, I look at wide receiver. They're fine at wide receiver. Beck would start maybe next year or be in the mix next year to play more than he will this year.
What I like about him isn't the receiver need, is he's just so much different than the two big outside guys or the two little guys. He's just a different type of player. I'm fine with that, though. We can scratch him.
I think I would go Dylan Fairchild here.
That's fine with me. I might prefer the LSU guard, but they're potato.
You know what I mean? Go either way with that. I just think that's a starter down the road.
Yeah.
Who also may play snaps for you this year. Like you didn't think last year when they.
Well, you didn't think McCormick was ever going to play.
Was going to play at all last year. He ends up starting 12 games for you.
I'm sure we said, well, he'll redshirt all year.
Yeah.
He was like played one of the most snap counts in the league. Right.
That's an extra pick. That's a throwaway pick.
They're getting greedy with it, right? No, I'm cool with the guards.
And you get a year to work with him, get him ready to go. Frazier or Fairchild? Do you like Frazier better?
I do, and I think he can bail you out a tackle. He played tackle at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
They had two draftable tackles at LSU, so he never got that opportunity. I would probably prefer him, but I like both about the same.
Yeah,
in this neighborhood, right? I think they're both future starters.
Third-round picks.
Yeah.
Are going to be one of them. They're both going to start.
Yeah, they're both future starters.
Yeah. All right, we'll take Miles Frazier.
Okay. So now we wait.
But
I definitely feel more comfortable having one O-lineman before the end of the draft.
We got Kenneth Grant in the first round, or actually in the early second round. Quinshaw Junkins in the second round. Tyler Shuck at 65, first pick of the third round, and then Miles Frazier at pick 83.
They're all big.
They're all big dudes.
For their respective position. Right.
Okay, so now we are up again here at 185. Or 185. We got 2 picks left. Well, what do you know? I don't see this happening, but okay. So get Dylan Gabriel, which we're all taking a quarterback.
Yeah, we're done with that.
Nick Nash, the wide receiver from San Jose State. Keaton Crawford, safety from Nevada. Ty Robinson, defensive lineman from Nebraska.
I think that could happen, but it seems pretty fortuitous.
Yeah. Isaiah Bond, wide receiver from Texas.
Do you consider him at this age, stage? I don't think he's particularly good.
No, I don't think he's good, and the off-field stuff is a little troubling.
Yeah.
To say the least. I think that's why he slid down on these boards. Cam Jackson, the defensive tackle out of Florida.
Talk about beef with Grant.
Jordan James, running back from Oregon. Tim Smith,
be done with those.
defensive tackle from Alabama. Again, beef. Tonka Hemingway, defensive tackle from South Carolina. Cody Lindenberg, linebacker from Minnesota. Jaw Joyner, edge rusher out of Minnesota. Jarquez Hunter, running back out of Auburn. Jaden Blue, running back out of Texas. Vernon Broughton, defensive lineman out of Texas. I think that's more likely than Robinson.
Let's pretend Robinson's not there, I guess.
I don't think he makes it this far, but Broughton.
Oh, that's logical.
Big enough to ride the ride. Maybe gets lost in the shuffle in this particular.
And Jackson and Smith are logical, too.
Yeah.
Broughton's more of an end than those guys, though. At least he's a little different than Grant.
Yeah. You got Upton Stout, cornerback out of Western Kentucky. Tyler Cooper, the guard from Minnesota. Jeffrey Bassa, the linebacker from Oregon. Jalen Smith, cornerback out of USC. So there's some dudes.
The D linemen seem like the best value.
I think you take Broughton here.
Yeah.
He's 6'4". He's got long. He's the arms are long enough.
I mean, I think he's a Wormley plus.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which is
that's
okay.
what you're looking for here.
Yeah.
Right. A long-time player that it's a rotational dude. You know, Lowry, maybe better than those guys.
Yeah. Okay. He is the pick. We got one more pick left at 229. And honestly, we could go a lot of different ways here.
Receiver, corner.
Developmental offensive tackle.
Oh, yeah. I just assume they'll be dried up.
Wide receiver Kobe Hudson from UCF. Jalen Conyers, tight end from Texas Tech. Dalton Cooper, offensive tackle from Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
John Quavius Marks, the running back from USC. Dante Trader, safety out of Maryland. Howard Cross, defensive tackle out of Notre Dame. Jackson Haas, tight end out of Georgia Tech.
I think everyone's sleeping on a tight end. I mean, I don't know that Hayward and Parham are definitely Steelers. You put him in Washington out there in goal line, or
he's just so nasty.
He's huge and nasty, and
like you want to run the football. There you go. That's like he's like having a seventh offensive lineman out there.
He's on your kickoff return team.
He's just a football player.
You want to be physical in the trenches and run the football. That's who you want. I'm fine with that in the last round. Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
There's no way he should still be available.
No. I mean,
not
everyone wants.
He caught 16 balls last year.
Right. Yeah. He's not going to. Not everyone's be banging down his door. You know. Yeah, do it.
You get nasty. This is a
big.
This is a trenches.
Everyone's big for their position.
Yeah. All right. So we ended up.
This was different. This was fun.
Yeah. With Kenneth Grant at 34 after trading back twice.
Mm-hmm.
But we picked up a couple of second-round picks. Well, one was a second, one was the first pick of the third.
Early
round.
Third, yeah.
We took Quidshaw Junkins at 60. 65 was Tyler Shuck, the quarterback out of Louisville. Miles Frazier at 83, the guard out of LSU.
Yeah.
185 was Vernon Broughton, the defensive lineman out of Texas. And then we got Jackson Haas, the tight end out of Georgia Tech at 229.
Physicality is the theme here. Right.
This team got nasty.
Yeah, we're going to get big, nasty, and not really hide our intentions. And maybe you find a quarterback.
Just like that.
No, I don't dislike it either.
Yeah.
Getting Grant that late worked out well, which I don't know that he's going to go super high. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if he went 15th. It wouldn't shock me if he's still on the board when Thursday's over.
Yeah.
You know, teams might just take an edge instead.
Right. Yeah.
See, that's a different conversation. But teams that just need D-line help, I think are going to take edge over tackles.
You always take the edge over the tackles because they're they affect the passer more.
Plus, you can get Farmer in the third round.
Yeah.
I mean, the edges are deep, but I would rather have Farmer in the third round than Swinson in the third round. You know what I mean? If I need both.
Right.
So I think most teams are going to go edge, then tackle, which could help Steelers a lot.
I think you may see like 16 pass rushers in the first round because I think those edges are just going to get pushed up.
I do too.
I think there's going to be
also
a bunch
trend
of
in
edges.
the league, and right. The Pierces of the world.
Maybe it won't
might
be 16, but
that's a huge number.
It might be. It might be 12 or 13.
It might be 12 or 13.
That was just a number I picked when we did that prediction thing. I just kind of picked that number out.
I mean, think if it's 12. There's 2 tight ends, probably 2 receivers, right off the a safety or 2. I'm just saying about positions that you don't want. A linebacker. All of a sudden, you get to 32 pretty quick.
Yeah.
And if you're not in the market of any of those positions, let alone Cam Ward and Hunter and Carter, those guys aren't going to be there.
Yeah, this one was interesting.
It was. It was kind of a fun build.
Yeah. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. And, of course, you can hear The Drive every Monday through Friday right here on these very airwaves. You can also download the Steelers mobile app and get the show there, or you can watch along on YouTube. Give us a thumbs up there. Leave your comments or suggestions or whatever. If your suggestion is for us to go jump off a bridge.
Yeah, we'll listen.
But we'll also, next week, we'll have our draft coverage, which, boy, if you've missed out on our draft coverage.
Extensive.
We are wall-to-wall draft coverage live from the Steelers facility. You get coaches, you get players, you get,
Sounds like there's a Wednesday night show we're going to do as well.
We'll do a Wednesday night show on TV, the recap after.
Right.
So we'll get you covered here on the Steelers Audio Network. But we will be back with more right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, Mel Kiper and Field Yates.
Oh, I did see this.
Have put together a little 3-round mock draft here. They have the Steelers making a trade up.
Oh, did they? Wow.
In the later rounds.
Interesting. Okay. So how did they do it? Did they go, I pick, you pick, I pick, you pick? Or did they,
yes, that's exactly what they did.
They didn't group think it, I don't think. Mel's not big on group thinking.
What we will do next Thursday, if you watch live on Steelers.com, you, me, and Mike Pursuta will make the picks for the first round.
We were pretty successful last year.
We'll rotate through it. Yeah. And you can get to watch that live.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
So Tennessee, this is Yates, has Cam Ward going to the Titans.
Okay. He's got the odds. Mel's got the evens.
Yeah. Mel has the Browns taking Travis Hunter out of
Colorado.
Both are
getting pretty chalky, and then it gets a little interesting. I don't know if you saw, but Shedeur Sanders is going to do a private workout for the Giants one last time.
The Giants, Yates has them taking Abdul Carter, the edge rusher out of Penn State.
Okay. If you were the Patriots, I guess they're having Carter in today, and Sanders is doing this private workout for the Giants. If you were the Patriots, would you tell the Giants, how about I give you a 4th-round pick and we just swap 3 and 4?
No.
If you're the Patriots or the Giants, who says no to that?
I think the Giants say no to it. I think they want – again, I just don't know that there aren't the premium players. I think there's 3.
I do too.
I think there's 3 players who, if we were redrafting if you mesh
I
these
think
2 drafts
Gentry's
together.
4, but he's not going to go in the top 3, of course. Right.
Yeah. Kiper has the Patriots taking Will Campbell, offensive tackle out of LSU.
Becoming kind of chalky, too.
Yates has Jacksonville taking Mason Graham, defensive tackle out of Michigan.
Yep.
Kiper has the Raiders taking Ashton Genty, running back out of Boise State.
And these are pretty chalky at this point.
Yeah. Yates has the Jets taking Armand Membo, offensive tackle from Missouri.
Okay. I think that's going to come down to Membo or Warren.
Kiper has Carolina taking Jalen Walker,
sure,
linebacker / edge rusher out of Georgia.
The league seems to love him, but I have some questions.
At 9, Yates has the Saints taking Shedeur Sanders.
Very possible.
Yeah.
Some people think it would be Dart to them.
Maybe.
Yeah, whatever.
At 10, Kiper has the Bears taking Tyler Warren, tight end, Penn State.
Totally understand it.
At 11, Yates has Kelvin Banks Jr., the offensive tackle from Texas, going to the 49ers.
I wouldn't love that for the Niners. You'd think you could do a little better, but it's a need.
Yeah, I mean, Trent Williams is 37 this year.
Left guard's a hole. You could put him at left guard, and hopefully he kicks out the left tackle in a year,
At 12, Kuiper has Matthew Golden, wide receiver from Texas, to the Cowboys.
If you were the Cowboys, would you take Tet or Golden?
I have
for them. I see both sides. They're different compliments to Lamb, but they're both compliments.
Yeah. I'd probably lean towards Golden.
I like Golden a little better.
Yeah.
I understand both sides of it, though.
At 13, the Dolphins. Yates has him taking Will Johnson.
Understandable, especially if Ramsey's
Especially
on
if you're going to move Ramsey.
Yeah.
At 14, Kuiper has Colston Loveland going to the Colts. I don't love the tight end fit for the Colts.
Me either. They have plenty of pass catchers, and they don't really throw the ball that well.
No. At 15, Yates has Mike Green, the edge rusher from Marshall, going to Atlanta.
Fine with that.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were them off the field aside, I would rather do Green than Stewart. You need instant help.
Yeah.
I don't want a developmental guy from them.
At 16, Kuiper has Jahdae Barron to the Cardinals.
I don't think that's crazy.
They just gave their nickel a bunch of money.
Who'd they get money from?
The safety.
Buddha.
Buddha Baker's
money,
making money. Unless you don't think Buddha's going to hold up as maybe you want to play him back off the ball more. I don't know. At 17, and Jahdae Barron can play outside.
Yeah.
17, the Bengals. Yates has them taking Walter Nolan, defensive tackle from Ole Miss.
Everyone seems to be quiet on Nolan, which I think the league's higher on him than people seem to think.
At 18, Kuiper has Gray Zabel going to the Seahawks.
That makes sense. I mean, a lot of people put Booker there, but they're much more, this new offense coordinator is much more of a movement, zone-based, athletic, non-Booker.
Yeah. At 19, Yates has Nick Emuari, the safety from South Carolina, going to Tampa.
I can understand that. I'd be shocked if they'd take him over Campbell, though.
At 20, Kuiper has Omarion Hampton, the running back from North Carolina, going to Denver.
Wouldn't break my heart at all.
No. It is what it is.
I don't love the Steeler builds when Hampton's the first pick, even though he's worth it.
At 21, Yates has the Steelers taking Derek Harmon.
Cool. Sign me up.
Yep.
Yeah.
At 22, Kuiper has Emeka Egbuka going to the Chargers. That's a little redundant to me. I'd take
For them, I'd take McMillan.
McMillan makes more sense for them.
Yeah, I would too. It sounds like Loveland's already gone.
I mean, McConkey's your slot. That's what he is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I respect Egbuka's game, but for them, I would want the big body.
He's kind of redundant with McConkey.
Yeah. I want an outside guy, ball winner.
At 23, the Packers, for Yates, he has them taking Shamar Stewart.
That's their style.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot like Van Ness or Gary. Or
traits guy.
Yeah, big traits guy.
At 24, Kuiper has the Vikings taking Donovan Jackson, the guard from Ohio State.
Ooh.
I don't see that. They
signed a center. They signed a guard. Their tackles are great. There is a spot that
Blake Brendel's the other starting guard, but just a guy. But
the defense just
can't
needs so
be
much
great
work.
everywhere.
Right. I mean, 4 out of 5 quality starters and an okay one isn't bad.
Yeah.
Their secondary needs a lot of work.
At 25, Yates has the Texans taking Tet McMillan.
Sure. I mean, receivers outside of Nico right now, or I don't know if Dell plays
ever again. Yeah.
Frankly, which is terrible.
They got Christian Kirk, but
yeah, that's true. But McMillan's different. That's true.
Yeah. At 26, Kuiper has the Rams taking Maxwell Hairston, the cornerback out of Kentucky.
See that a lot. It's a need.
At 27, Yates has the Ravens taking Malachi Starks, safety from Georgia.
I keep thinking that's going to be Booker, but Starks would add up too.
At 28, Kuiper has Mykel Williams, edge rusher out of Georgia, going to the Lions.
Pretty late for him.
Yeah. Again, he's undersized. We got a projected trade at 29. The Browns get pick 29 and 128. They give up picks 33 and 67. Similar to what we did.
Yeah, that's not a far trade up.
They come up to get Jackson Dart, according to Yates.
Sanders went to the Saints, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so is he off the board?
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. I'd say I would think the Giants and Saints or Browns will be aggressive to get a quarterback.
At 30, Kuiper has the Bills taking Trey Amos, cornerback out of Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm. That adds up.
Yates at 31 has the Chiefs taking Josh Connerly, the offensive tackle from Oregon.
I think he might need a year, but that's fine for them.
Yeah.
Right. He's not super strong.
At 32, Kuiper has the Eagles taking Jihad Campbell.
They don't take linebackers.
They don't take linebackers in the first round, but
they just paid Bond, and I don't think they would do that. They just paid Bond, and they have Dean.
Yeah.
Maybe just wanted to get Campbell in the first round.
Maybe.
He's going to be in the first round.
After trading back, the Commanders then take Donovan Ezereku.
Yeah, their edge is a little suspect.
At 34, Kuiper has Tyler Shuck to the Giants.
It's not a bad consolation prize.
Yeah.
End up with Carter and Shuck. Okay, you might have filled both needs.
35, Jaden Higgins, the wide receiver from Iowa State, goes to Tennessee.
I hope they go receiver early for Ward.
Jacksonville then takes Luther Burden, the wide receiver from Missouri.
Yeah.
At 37, the Raiders take Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle from Ohio State.
I think he's the best tackle in this draft. Some of these tackles I think are going to go earlier.
At 38, the Patriots take Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle from Michigan.
Nice. Good value, obviously.
At 39, the Bears take Travion Henderson, running back from Ohio State.
Okay. So real quick, I mean, there might have been people last segment going, no way Grant lasts that long after 2 trade downs. Well, he just did. In this one too. Yeah.
At 40, Kuiper has Azirie Thomas, the cornerback from Florida State, to the Saints.
They need him, but that's a little rich for him.
41, Nick Scourton goes to the Chicago Bears, the edge rusher out of Texas A&M.
I think they could use help there.
42, the Jets take Elijah Araujo, tight end out of Miami.
Oh, okay. I thought it was going to be Membo or Warren, and they end up with Membo and Araujo.
Yeah. I would take the LSU kid, though, first.
I see both sides. I prefer Taylor, too.
San Francisco then takes James Pierce Jr., the edge rusher out of Tennessee at 43.
They have a lot of D-line needs.
The Cowboys at 44 take Siobhan Revell Jr., cornerback out of East Carolina.
Okay.
And this could be what happens with some of these injury
guys.
Yeah. You end
Simmons,
up going in the second
Revell,
round.
Right.
45, Carson Schlesinger goes to the Colts, to the linebacker out of UCLA.
I can see that.
Benjamin Morrison, another one of those injury guys, goes to the Falcons at 46,
talent.
The cornerback from Notre Dame.
That would be fine for them. Put him opposite Terrell whenever he's ready.
At 47, the Cardinals take Tyler Booker, the guard from Alabama.
I like that. That's good value to take him that late.
At 48, Kuiper has Darius Alexander, defensive tackle from Toledo, going to the Dolphins.
They could use that too.
Yep. At 49, the Bengals take Xavier Watts, safety out of Notre Dame.
They'd go safety, D tackle.
Okay.
I mean, just stick with defense.
Yeah. At 50, the Seahawks take Jonas Iavania, guard out of Arizona.
They take 2 interior linemen.
Yeah.
I'm not quabbling with it. That's not a word, but whatever. Quibble.
51, Yates has Mason Taylor, tight end out of LSU, to the Broncos.
Yeah, he's a lot different than Ingram, and I think Ingram's only on a 1-year deal.
The Seahawks at 52, this would be the pick that they got for DK Metcalf. They take, according to Kuiper, Jack Beck, wide receiver from TCU.
Good. 2 interior linemen and a...
And if that's the trade, like DK Metcalf for Jack Beck, I like Jack Beck, but...
Right. And I'll still take the $30 million on top of it. My only problem with that is...
He's a slot.
You got Smith and Jigba, Cup, and Beck. Like, give me somebody that's outside the number.
Yeah, can anybody play? Right. And Beck, I guess, could play outside the numbers, but that's not what he does well.
Right, they all can.
Yeah. Tampa Bay takes Darian Porter at 53, cornerback out of Iowa State.
He's so interesting to me because he's only been a corner for 1 year and really needs time, but he's old too. I mean, he's been in college for 6 years.
Green Bay then takes another receiver, Jalen Noel, wide receiver out of Iowa State.
Well, they took an edge.
According to Kuiper, they got receivers.
Oh, they do. But I don't think Watson's going to play all year.
Yeah, I don't think he does either. At 55, the Chargers, according to Yates, take Quinshawn Judkins, running back out of Ohio State.
Him and Najee?
Yeah, Najee's a 1-year deal.
Right. Okay.
At 56, Kuiper has Savion Williams to the Buffalo Bills.
I think he's much more of a second, third round pick than he is. Oh, no, that's TCU Savion Williams.
Yeah.
I get the Washington State receiver and Savion Williams mixed up, but no, I would not take Williams that high.
At 57, the Carolina Panthers, according to Yates, take Ozzie Trapillo, offensive tackle from Boston College.
Yeah, It's not a huge need.
At 58, Kuiper has Anthony Belton, the offensive lineman from NC State, going to the Texans.
Pretty high, but I understand it.
Yeah.
He's a good prospect.
59, the Ravens take JT Tuimoloau, edge rusher from Ohio State.
He's their type of guy, a Van Noy, tough guy, set the edge,
At 60, Kuiper has Marcus Mbao, the guard from Purdue, to the Detroit Lions.
They need that would be a good pick for them. Losing Zeitler.
At 61, Yates has Jacob Parrish, cornerback from K-State, going to the Commanders. Are they just going to run a whole group of
I say there's a lot of
undersized
little
corners?
guys. Right. They do have Lattimore, but that position's kind of full.
It'd be tiny.
Yeah.
At 62, the Bills for Kuiper is Oladejo, edge rusher out of UCLA.
UCLA can.
Yeah. 63, Yates has Landon Jackson, the edge rusher from Arkansas, going to the Chiefs.
Okay.
64, Kuiper has Kevin Winston Jr., the safety from Penn State, to the Eagles. So no big guys for the Eagles thus far.
Right. I think Winston goes maybe even higher than that.
Would the Eagles take a linebacker and a safety in the draft?
That's not Eagles-like at all.
But they did take cornerbacks first 2 rounds last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
This a 3-rounder?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Tate Ratledge to the Giants at 65, the guard from Georgia. Harold Fannin Jr., the tight end from Bowling Green, to the Chiefs at 66.
He's not very Kelsey-like, but it's...
Caleb Johnson goes to the Commanders at pick 67. That was the pick.
Cool with that.
That was the pick they picked up from Cleveland, and then they have a projected trade. Steelers get pick number 68 for pick number 83. This is with the Raiders, and a 2026 third-round draft pick.
Okay, so you move up heavy in the third round for a future third.
Yeah, and they take Jalen Milroe, quarterback, Miami.
To me, that's the perfect start to the draft. If I can get one of those premier D tackles in Milroe, and it costs me a future third, and those are my first 2 picks, I'm in. I'm so in.
Yeah, that makes more sense than taking him in the first round or at the top of the second round.
And you're not short a pick this year.
Right.
You're going to get a third comp pick. Sign me up for that.
So essentially you traded Dan Moore in your third-round draft pick to go get
maybe your future starter.
Right.
Now, ideally, if you could do those exact same thing, but you would have got Harmon 5 picks later on a trade down and still had something else floating out there, another third or whatever, great. But if this is the way it went, I would take it.
Yeah.
To me, that's a perfect start.
Now, I'm not going to roll through all these picks after that, but just some of the more interesting ones. Kyle Williams, we talked about, goes 69 to the Patriots, the wide receiver out of Washington State. Ariante Ursary to the Bears at 72, the offensive tackle from Minnesota.
He's a sleeper to go way earlier.
Tyleek Williams goes all the way down at 74, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State.
You can see noses falling.
Yeah.
I mean, Grant, Williams, etc.
Alfred Collins.
We haven't mentioned Collins yet.
He goes right after him to the 49ers at 75.
I don't think that's insane with all the noses that are in this class, that you might get value there.
Yeah.
Boy, I'll take Williams in the third round.
Let's see here. The Bengals take Jack Sawyer at 81, the edge rusher out of Ohio State.
He's their style.
Yeah.
A lot like Hubbard.
Josh Farmer goes at 82,
and
the defensive tackle.
D-line value in these third rounds.
Shamar Turner goes with the pick at 83 that would have been the Steelers' pick, the defensive lineman at Texas A&M.
About where we considered him in our mock.
Alec Ayemanor at 85 to the Broncos, the wide receiver out of Stanford.
Nice. That'd be a good fit for him.
Yeah. Quincy Riley, the cornerback out of Louisville, to the Jaguars at 88.
Yeah, he's a guy that could go a little higher than you think.
Yeah.
I don't know he's be sitting there in the 5th round.
Ty Robinson, defensive tackle out of Nebraska, goes at 89 to the Texans.
That's about right.
Yeah. Will Howard goes at 90 to the Rams.
Okay, developmental guy for them. That would make some sense.
The Ravens take Demetrius Knight Jr., the linebacker out of South Carolina. Noel Williams goes to the Seahawks at 92, the cornerback out of Cal.
Well, these guys that we've had some interest in.
Yeah. The Browns took Ashton Gillette at 94, the edge rusher out of Louisville.
I've had a couple people that love him. I think he's good.
Yeah.
But some people really bragged about him.
Chiefs took Dylan Fairchild, the guard out of Georgia, at 95.
Yeah, they need a guard.
Yeah. C.J. West goes to the Eagles at 96, the defensive tackle out of Indiana.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
Charles Grant, the offensive tackle from Miami or from William & Mary, goes to Miami at 98.
Okay. They did take Patrick Paul last year, but I don't know how much I'd count on that.
Upton Stout, all the way up at 100.
Wow.
For the San Francisco 49ers.
Did Mel make that pick?
Yes.
So he talks about Stout a lot.
Loves him, yeah.
Yeah.
And the final pick of this draft to the Lions is Barrett Carter, linebacker out of Clemson.
Okay.
The Lions.
Yeah, he's been on the radar for a while. Good athlete.
But, some guys making some movement there.
Yeah.
Rising up the boards.
Harmon and Milrow would be a nice start.
I
know people don't want to hear it, but I think that's a really good way to go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of Milrow detractors, and I think if you study them, you'll like them more and more.
Well, I think, to me, again, the argument, well, I see mock drafts, them taking him in the first round.
Yeah.
No, you don't do that.
Right.
And
I need that D tackle.
Trading up to trading up into the early second round to get him, and not having a defensive tackle at all, or trading back and taking him first. No.
Yeah.
Like, I get, okay, if you move a future pick from next year because you got a bunch.
No, you got a bunch.
To go do that, I get it completely.
100%. Right? Just have him for one more year, then maybe you aren't in the quarterback market a year from now.
Right.
How nice would that be?
Yeah.
You know?
And now you got all these picks that you acquired.
Right.
Now you can really do some stuff.
You can do whatever you want. Right.
Yeah. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I'm Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Matt and I will be back to finish up the show right after this. And welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, Tyron Smith is going to sign a one-day contract with the Cowboys and retire after 14 years.
Okay. Good. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good way to go out. Last year with the Jets was a little rough. You kind of seen that so many times in sports where someone's a lifetime and then they go 1 year and it was probably a mistake. And much of what happens with the Jets last year was forgettable. That experiment obviously didn't work. I think he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, he'll be a Hall of Famer.
I think he will be. Yeah. He's had back issues, and I'm sure his body's saying, I'm done.
I just want to look at his – it seems like the back issues for him have been around forever.
Forever, yeah.
171 career games in 14 years.
Okay. He's always battling stuff.
Hasn't played a full season since 2015. And I wonder if that hurts. His first four...
The durability is going to be a knock on
his first 5 seasons, he played all but one game.
Really? Okay.
And then ever since then, the most games he's played in the season is 13.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
it's going to be, maybe he doesn't go first ballot.
There was 2020, he played 2 games. 2022, he played 4 games. A really good player.
Yeah.
But just a 2-time first team All-Pro because of all the injuries.
Yeah, and Trent Williams probably beat him out quite a bit, and some of those dudes. I would put Trent Williams, Lane Johnson ahead of him, in the tackle pecking order for Hall of Fames, guys that will retire soon. But I bet he goes in the next 10 years.
It's tough, though. It's tough to tackle because there's no
durability's
stats,
big.
And durability's big.
And huge. And
I get when Tony Boselli goes in,
yeah.
kind of throwing some of that out. But Boselli, his entire career was okay, he's the guy.
Yeah.
This is a little different where he had 4 years where he was that, and then the rest of the career has just kind of been, okay, he's good, but he misses too many games.
Yeah. That's going to be the clear number one knock on him. He's an interesting player, though. I mean, not many tackles could be an underwear model, and he kind of is. He doesn't have any fat. He's got the wide shoulders, the narrow waist. He's got the V. I mean, he's an odd prospect.
You have a different idea of underwear models than what I do. Just a different vision of what they look like.
Right.
Mine don't have wide shoulders and a V.
And they're 320 pounds.
They are not. No.
I think whenever he came out of USC, remember Ryan Khalil was a super high pick?
Yeah.
Smith had to play the right side because Khalil was USC's left tackle. So he was one of these conversions that went right to left right away and didn't miss a beat. All those guys that converted last year. I think he's a tremendous player, but he has been held together, duct tape
for a long time.
I wonder how many Wednesday practices he's missed. 1 million.
Yeah, he spent the better part of his career not playing the full 16.
Yeah, right. Armstead kind of has some of those things too. Yeah.
Really, in the last 3 seasons of his career, he played 27 games.
Really? How old is he?
30. He'll be 35.
Man, it's probably time.
Yeah, it's probably time. But great career.
Great career.
Really good player. It'll be interesting. That'll be a tough discussion in that Hall of Fame.
It won't be a no-brainer.
No,
there's no question. Trent Williams going in, no problem.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
Like you have less of an argument with Zach Martin.
Martin's easier.
Yeah,
Martin's easier.
Because
more reliable.
He was more reliable.
More reliable.
Yeah,
and
they were both great players for a long time. The Cowboys had the best line in the league because they had those two guys.
And Frederickson was a really good player for a long time too, and he had to retire early.
I don't think all three of them go to the Hall of Fame, though.
I don't think Frederickson goes.
No,
is it Fredericks or Frederickson? Frederickson. I don't think he'll go. His career was kind of a little short.
There aren't many centers in the Hall of Fame.
There
really aren't. There's like 5.
Like Nick Mangold isn't in. I'd take
the Steelers have like 40% of the Hall of Fame centers.
Right. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But definitely, I'm sure if you compared Martin and Smith, I'm sure Martin has more Pro Bowls, All Pros.
He just played more games.
He plays every game.
Yeah.
If you only played 12 games, you're not going to be an All Pro.
It's tough.
I think you said he only went to 2 of them.
Yeah, 2-time first-team All-Pro. He was 3-time second-team All-Pro.
Mm-hmm.
But it's tough to.
The resume is not as good as the film.
Yeah,
because of missed time.
Yeah,
that's tough.
Best ability is availability.
Yeah, great career.
Yeah,
I wonder if we get into September and someone loses a left tackle, Chiefs. Hey, you want to try to make a run for a ring? Maybe. Yeah, I could probably get off the couch. Maybe. But that's cool. He's
maybe
retiring.
he can't get off the couch. Maybe it's the back issues that bad.
Yeah, that's cool. He's retiring as a Cowboy, though. He'll probably be like a Ring of Honor guy.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah,
He's
absolutely.
an all-time great Cowboy.
Yep.
That's a great lineman.
But Matt, that's going to do it for our show today.
All right.
So for my partner Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site, running the Justin Miller hotline and the soundboard, and for Tyler Vittmeyer, making sure the video gets out there on the YouTube, I am Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.